What if someone handed you a choice, and both options were a cage? What if the very act of choosing was itself the trap, and the person offering you the choice already knew you'd lose before you opened your mouth? You wouldn't recognize it happening. That's precisely what makes it devastating. This is not a hypothetical. This is happening right now, in offices, in family dinners, in intimate relationships, and most people spend their entire lives inside this prison without ever learning its name: the double bind. Gregory Bateson, the anthropologist and cyberneticist, first documented it formally in 1956 while studying communication patterns in families with schizophrenic members. He found something that shook the field. Certain communication structures were so psychologically inescapable that prolonged exposure to them didn't just cause distress. They fractured a person's very ability to perceive reality clearly. But here is what Bateson did not anticipate. This mechanism would become a primary weapon in the arsenal of everyday manipulation, not just in clinical households, everywhere. Think of it this way: a trap made of iron can be seen, stepped around, disarmed. But a trap made of language, of love, of obligation, that trap is invisible. You feel the teeth only after they close. The double bind works because it operates on two levels simultaneously: the surface level, where a choice appears to be offered, and the deeper level, where both options are already poisoned. To choose option A is to confirm guilt. To choose option B is to confirm submission. To choose nothing is interpreted as defiance, which, conveniently, also confirms guilt. The manipulator wins at every exit. This is not accidental design, whether deployed consciously or unconsciously, and here is the disturbing truth. It is frequently unconscious, the product of a person who was themselves trapped in the same architecture as a child, who internalized the mechanism so deeply that it became their native tongue. The double bind is a system. It has consistent structural features. It has identifiable conditions. And once you can see its skeleton, you can never be caught inside it the same way again. Today, we are going to dissect that skeleton. Slowly. Precisely. You are going to leave this video understanding 5 psychological key points that most people spend decades never articulating. And by the end, you will know something that your manipulator, whoever they are, desperately needs you never to discover: that there is always a third door. Always. But first, you have to understand why you were never shown it, and why, when you stand in front of it, every instinct trained into you will scream that it doesn't exist. Let us begin. The illusion of choice is the weapon. The double bind does not deny you choice. It is far more sophisticated than that. It offers you choice with the theatrical generosity of a magician revealing an empty hand. The structure always begins with 2 apparent options, framed so that one seems reasonable and one seems rebellious. You can either come to family dinner and show you care, or you can stay home and prove you never did. Notice how both options have already been pre-interpreted. The meaning of your action has been assigned before you act. Your behavior becomes evidence in a trial you didn't know was happening. Social psychologist Claude Steele documented a related phenomenon in stereotype threat research. When a person's identity is linked to the outcome before performance, their cognitive bandwidth collapses. The double bind weaponizes this. Your energy goes not toward solving the real problem, but toward managing the crushing weight of being already guilty. Key point 2. Silence and escape are also forbidden. In a normal disagreement, you can walk away. You can refuse to engage. You can say nothing. The double bind forecloses these exits by design. This is what Bateson called the injunction against metacommunication, the prohibition on talking about the trap itself. Try to name the pattern with someone skilled in double bind deployment and watch what happens. The conversation immediately shifts. You are now the problem. You are overanalyzing. You are deflecting. You are making them the villain. The act of observing the cage is reframed as an act of aggression against the cage builder. This is why victims of prolonged double bind environments frequently describe feeling that they are losing their mind. They are not. They are losing the language to describe their experience. which is, in every meaningful sense, worse. Psychiatrist R.D. Line documented this mechanism as a form of mystification, the deliberate obscuring of what is actually occurring in a relationship so that the target loses access to their own perceptions. If you cannot name the bars, how will you ever know you are in a cage? Key point 3. The emotional debt structure that keeps you trapped. The double bind does not operate in isolation. It is always embedded inside a relationship where emotional debt has been carefully, sometimes lovingly, constructed. Parents who use this mechanism rarely appear monstrous. They appear devoted, exhausted, sacrificing, misunderstood. Employers who deploy it do not seem tyrannical. They seem passionate, demanding in the way that only truly great leaders are. This emotional context is not incidental. It is load-bearing, because the double bind requires that you care about the relationship enough to stay within it. Research in attachment theory, particularly the work of Mary Main on disorganized attachment, reveals that children raised in environments where a caregiver is simultaneously a source of fear and comfort develop a neurological conflict at the level of the brainstem. The approach system and the threat system activate simultaneously. The result is behavioral collapse, freezing, confusion, compulsive compliance. The adult version of this collapse is the person who cannot stop trying to please someone who has structurally ensured they will always fail. Key point 4. Workplace deployment. The professional double bind. The corporate environment has become one of the most fertile grounds for double bind architecture, precisely because hierarchy provides a sanctioned power differential that makes the bind appear legitimate. Consider the pattern documented extensively in organizational psychology. The employee who is told to show initiative, but is then penalized for making decisions without approval. The individual who is encouraged to speak up in meetings, but whose contributions are systematically diminished or taken. The person who is told they are not a team player for working late alone and not ambitious enough for leaving on time. Each of these is a double bind. Each encodes a message beneath the surface message. Your compliance is demanded, and your individuality is the evidence of your disloyalty. A 2019 study published in the Journal of Applied Psychology found that employees in high-ambiguity environments with inconsistent leadership signals showed cortisol patterns comparable to individuals in active conflict situations. The body does not distinguish between a battlefield and a boardroom when the double bind is running. Key point 5. The third door, refusing the terms of the game. And now we arrive at the only exit that was never shown to you. The third door is not a compromise between option A and option B. It is not a negotiation. It is a refusal to accept the frame itself. And that refusal must be expressed with extraordinary precision, because emotional language will be used against you. The third door strategy operates through what communication theorists call reframing. Here is what you need to sit with after this video ends. The double bind is not used only by people who hate you. In fact, its most devastating deployments come from people who believe, with complete sincerity, that they love you. That is the part no one warns you about. The parent who constructs a no-win scenario around your life choices is often doing exactly what was done to them, in the same language, with the same emotional conviction, generating the same confusion in you that was once generated in them. This is how psychological architecture transmits across generations. Not through malice, through fluency. They are speaking the only language they ever learned, and you are the child being taught it as your mother tongue. This does not mean you owe them your silence. It does not mean the harm is not real because the intention was love. Harm transmitted in the name of love is still harm. And the recognition of this, sitting with it, without rushing to excuse it or to condemn it, is itself a form of the third door. Because the greatest double bind of all is the one we are given about our own suffering. If you confront it, you are ungrateful. If you don't confront it, you are broken. Neither. You are someone learning, perhaps for the very first time, that both options were always a lie. Consider what it costs a person to have lived inside a double bind architecture for years. The perpetual low-grade exhaustion that comes not from working hard, but from the cognitive labor of navigating a system designed to drain you. The erosion of what psychologists call internal locus of control. The belief that your actions have meaningful consequences, that you are the author of your own life rather than a character in someone else's moral drama. Research by Martin Seligman on learned helplessness showed that dogs subjected to inescapable electric shocks eventually stopped trying to escape even when escape became possible. They had learned, at a neurological level, that their actions were irrelevant. The double bind does the same thing to human beings. Slowly, lovingly, with a smile and a list of everything they have sacrificed for you. But here is what Seligman also found. The condition was reversible, not easily, not without effort. But the moment the organism discovered, truly discovered, not just intellectually accepted, that its actions could produce different outcomes, the helplessness began to lift. The neurology began to reorganize. You are not a dog in a laboratory. You are a person watching a video that has just handed you a structural map of a trap you may have been living inside for years. The map is not the territory. Knowing the name of a cage does not automatically open the door, but it does something more foundational. It proves the door exists. And that single, shattering recognition is where every genuine exit begins. You were never choosing between option A and option B. You were always free to walk through the door they never showed you. The question that remains, and you should let it disturb your sleep tonight, is this. Now that you can see it, what will you choose to do with the key? Stay curious, stay dangerous, and never, ever accept someone else's frame as the boundary of your world.